Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Monday, um, June 6th edition of studentloanjustice.org. Let me just change that date there. How's everybody doing out there in the world tonight? Hopefully well. If you have any questions or comments and you're watching us on Twitter or Facebook, by all means, throw them out, and I will gladly respond to them. So lots going on right now, guys. For the two most important things, our bankruptcy bill remains in play, hasn't been doing much. Don't know what's going on, but it's there. S-2598, this will return bankruptcy protections to federal student loans. Very important bill. We've never been closer. If you're new to the group, welcome, by the way. We are Student Loan Justice. We're the oldest, largest, and in many ways only and first and only true absolutely, totally grassroots group fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice. We've been around since March 2005. We've been featured on 60 Minutes, the Wall Street Journal, and Fox News, and NPR, and PBS, and pretty much every network you can imagine over the years. We've done a lot of things. We've broken a lot of stories. We do very careful and diligent research as well, I should tell you, so that all the claims that you're going to hear come out of my mouth tonight are true, even if you haven't heard them in the mainstream media, because the mainstream media sucks. It's propaganda. It's a tsunami of disinformation and essentially propaganda being hurled against us right now like nothing I have ever seen in the 17-year history of this group. So if you have any questions, comments on Twitter or Facebook, you're watching us live, by all means, throw them out. I'm happy to respond to them. Speaking of the media, there is at least some good media going on right now, so that's good. In fact, our members and our research were featured in the New York Times last week, The Guardian a couple Sundays ago. In the past month or two, we've been featured all over the place. Guardian multiple times. Something called the Epoch Times, which is a very conservative thing. Fox News, believe it or not, live. Fox News, Dana Perino, April 12th. So it's not all bad, but for every 20 media pieces out there about student loans, probably 18 of them are crap. It's manufactured crap thrown out against us. So anyways, our bill, S-2598, is doing very well. I have no reason to say otherwise. We fully hope and expect that it will be up for a vote soon, whenever that will be, in the Senate. And while I'm not a whip, like the sponsor of our bill, Senate Judiciary Chairman Dick Durbin is the majority whip. He can count votes. But if I had to guess, I would say if our bill was put before a vote in the Senate today, it would probably pass by like way over 60%. And that's good because, and by the way, we're a fiercely nonpartisan group. We kind of hate both parties at this late date in the death spiral of the federal student loan program. It's kind of a good cop, bad cop thing. Democrats kind of good cop, Republicans kind of the bad cop. But we're not in love with either party. Having said that, Republicans have tended to oppose us over the years. And this bill, S-2598, has two Republican senators co-sponsored on it. Josh Hawley out of Missouri and John Cornyn out of Texas. So that bodes extremely well. And by the way, guys, you wouldn't have noticed reading the media and all the fireworks regarding loan cancellation that is out there. But nearly all opposition to returning bankruptcy protections to student loans has gone away. It's evaporated, doesn't exist anymore. And that's a very strong thing because for the first 15 years of our existence, we were fighting only very moderately for the return of bankruptcy protections. And it was a very tough slog, let me tell you. So that's very good. Now on the second front, which is loan cancellation. So, if you're new to the group, we are 100% all for loan cancellation. What we are not for is fake loan cancellation. Up to $50,000 or up to $10,000, Those are both fake. They're nonsense. If Joe Biden holds a press conference tomorrow and says, I'm going to cancel up to X amount, 50, 75, 100,000, up to $1 million, even if Joe Biden came out tomorrow and said that, it would come to mean almost nothing for almost everyone, because the Department of Education has no intentions or desires of canceling any loans. And if they can possibly get away with it, they will bureaucratize whatever loan cancellation gimmick might be handed down to them, and they will bureaucratize it to death. That's what they've always done. Since 1995, that's what the Department of Education has always done. Up to, those two words were thrown in there for a very good reason by the body politic. Up to could mean anything. And if the Department of Education and its contractors have their way, and they will, as long as the threat of bankruptcy is gone, it'll come to mean jack nothing for jack everyone. You get $3,000, you earn too much, you get nothing. You didn't fill out your form correctly, you get nothing. You didn't dot your I, didn't cross your T, you get nothing. You didn't file your taxes, you get nothing. You get $8,000, congratulations. You get $12,000. It'll be like that, guys. We're not doing that. This lending system has catastrophically failed. And by the way, this group right here, we started the petition calling for loan cancellation by executive order, by the way. Like before almost anyone was talking about loan cancellation by executive order, we were out being interviewed by Vice News in August 2019. We started our petition March 2020. It wasn't until I think September that Elizabeth Warren and Chuck Schumer embraced the concept and started telling the then President Trump to cancel loans by executive order. So we're actually thrilled to have brought that whole thing into the zeitgeist. We're absolutely not thrilled with the up to $50,000, up to whatever weasel wording that was inserted into it. So anyways, we're glad you're here, regardless of whatever your political stripes may be. We are, as I said, fiercely nonpartisan group. We have been stuck in the partisan cracks, just so you know, for many years. And we're not big fans of anything that has anything to do with partisan nonsense, because what I just said, it's just nonsense, guys. So I'm looking for your comments now. So we're actually kicking ass right now, guys. So you know, I've been busier than I ever thought I would ever be fighting for student loan justice. When we first started, there might be one article a month, maybe one every 2 months written about student loans. Today, there's probably a dozen articles every single day written about student loans, and like 10 of them or 11 of them are crap. And so the bad guys, the student loan swamp, as I like to call it, they are very worried. They are very, very, very worried. And that's a very good thing, by the way. They should be worried, because here are the big numbers, ladies and gentlemen. The lending system has catastrophically failed, like no other lending system we've ever seen ever. Before the pandemic, 80%, 4 out of 5 of all borrowers were underwater on their loans. They were either not paying at all, and that was over 50%, or they were paying and paying and paying, but their loan balances were going up, not down, up. You know, the default rate for 2004 students is 40%. That's twice higher than the subprime home mortgage default rate. And 2004 students were only borrowing about a third of what's being borrowed today. So come on, guys. This lending system was catastrophically failed even before the pandemic. So before the pandemic, as I said, over half the people weren't paying at all. Today, almost nobody is paying because the repayment pause. And whenever they have the chutzpah to try and turn this lending system back on, almost nobody's going to pay. Like I'll be stunned if 20% of the people actually resume paying on their loans. The lending system's done, guys. It's toast. It's finished. It's a dead man walking. No matter what the talking heads in Washington, D.C. say or do, no matter what the obscenely corrupted and conflicted and just massively, unabashedly biased writers at Forbes magazine would have you think, the lending system is toast. And those numbers I just said, it's kind of hard to argue with those numbers. And I could go on, but if you want to challenge me on that claim that the lending system is catastrophically failed, Hey, Evelyn and Laura Harris is with us tonight. Hey, Evan. Hey, Evelyn. So today, this is kind of noteworthy. Undersecretary James Kval did an interview with Daniel Douglas Gabriel at the Washington Post. I was able to ask a question, and this is a very important question. And let me back up for a minute and just tell you, nobody wants to file for bankruptcy, guys. Bankruptcy is a terrible thing to have to do. But unless and until we get the leverage of bankruptcy back on our side, any loan cancellation gimmick that the White House rolls out is going to be crap. It's going to be fake. It's going to be a trick. It'll be what I said. It'll be almost nothing for almost everyone. So bankruptcy remains at the core of this issue, like it or not, it does. So there's this bill that we're fighting for, S-2598, is getting close. But in the meantime, the White House can and said that they were going to stop opposing student loan borrowers in bankruptcy court. So this goes, in fact, James Kval, Undersecretary, he was I confirmed, I want to say last summer, but I've known James for years, and well before he took office, he gave me his assurance that stopping contesting bankruptcy claims from student loan borrowers in court was going to be a priority of his. And lo and behold, here we are today. In the past 7 or 8 months, James Kval, Richard Cordray, the Chief Operations Officer of the Federal Student Aid Program, the student loan guru, the student loan master, and even Secretary Cardona have said that they are going to change something. They haven't gotten into any detail, but they've said they are going to revisit how they deal with student loan borrowers in bankruptcy court. So that is a very big deal. But, you know, they started saying this 6 or 7 months ago. And, you know, we've seen this before. Right around 2012, President Obama said, oh, we're going to revisit the whole bankruptcy thing for student loans. And then nothing happened. So I'm very worried. I'm very worried that we are going to get shoved under the rug, if you will, on this. So I'm very concerned, but I was able to get my question into James today, and it was basically a nothing burger. He said, yep, we said it. We're thinking about it. We're working with the Justice Department, and that's all I got for you. So it was kind of a non-answer, I guess you could say. Hey, Victoria's with us tonight. Hey, Victoria, how are you? So yeah, guys, we're right on the cusp. I hope you're thrilled. I hope those of you who have been in this group for any length of time are extremely stoked, and you should be, at how far we have come and now how close we are to actual victory. Like right now, like 2 years ago, we were schlepping around Iowa, begging people like Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, Pete Buttigieg, Kamala Harris, all the Democratic candidates for president, begging them to talk about and to frankly support returning bankruptcy to student loans. Now, maybe I should say, nobody wants to file for bankruptcy, guys. Nobody wants to. But the Founding Fathers knew that bankruptcy was so important that they called for it ahead of the power to declare war and ahead of the power to raise an army in the U.S. Constitution. Not the Bill of Rights, the body of the Constitution itself. And it's not that we want everybody to run out and file for bankruptcy. That's not the goal here. And that's not going to happen, by the way. Very few people, maybe even no one, will have to file. But it's having the threat, the leverage of bankruptcy back on our side that is going to compel actual, meaningful loan cancellation and probably a universe of other very fair workouts that happen for every other type of loan in this country. It's kind of bankruptcy is pretty important. Whether you like the Founding Fathers or not, they knew something when they called for uniform bankruptcy laws. And so all the loan cancellation nonsense we see in the papers right now, guys, it's just a joke. And frankly, it's a sick joke. You know, a trick is being played on us, or at least people in Washington, D.C. are trying to play a trick on us. And the trick is to foist a fake loan cancellation gimmick on us as a cheap substitute for bankruptcy protections. Now, the two are not competing concepts. Maybe that's one of the most important things I'll say tonight. Bankruptcy and student loan cancellation, it's not like one or the other. No. They are simpatico. In fact, we are not going to see meaningful student loan cancellation unless and until we get the threat of bankruptcy returned to us. Joe Biden is not a great guy, guys. Now, if Bernie or Elizabeth Warren or somebody else was in the presidency, maybe it would be different. But it's not, because Joe Biden is a creep, and he won't do anything unless he's pushed. And that is just the truth. He plays hardball politics, and unless he's forced to do something, he's not going to do it. He runs with the swamp. That's what he does. So unless we have the power, the leverage, the threat that bankruptcy provides to us at the negotiation table, Joe Biden is never going to do anything meaningful. And the people who would perpetuate this loan system, they know that. So they would, and they've done this before with public service loan forgiveness and IBR back in 2007. Some, in fact, left-leaning, believe it or not, so-called student advocacy groups came around, and they fought very hard to kill the push for the return of bankruptcy. And instead of bankruptcy, what did we get? We got income-based repayment, and we got public service loan forgiveness. How did those work out? Not well. Only recently they're finally starting to cancel some loans through IBR, but that's only because they got totally caught, and a teachers union decided to throw their weight around, and now they're finally starting to cancel a few loans. But guys, that's nothing. IBR is a cruel joke. And in fact, every single income-driven repayment program they have ever put in place, over 99% of the people have been kicked out of them. So we don't need another IDR. We don't need another bunch of bullshit. What we need is our bankruptcy protections back, and we need some true rationality, reality injected into this failed lending scam. Quite frankly, as of pretty recently, we are now calling on the president not just to cancel federally owned student loans and return bankruptcy to all student loans. We're calling on the president to suspend the lending program indefinitely. In other words, end it. And put the colleges on direct reduced funding for a couple of years, if that's what it takes, and use that time to replace the lending system with something that is at least kind of fair. And there's a lot of good ideas out there, and we don't advocate for one policy solution or another. Frankly, that's the next problem. This current problem, this current lending system is done. It's done. You can hear me now and believe me later, but guys, go to bit.ly/student loans finished and read that. And by the way, read those other articles there too. There's some very important unreported stuff there that you would be amazed at, like some very interesting statistics and facts that are very easily vetted. They're very easily proven true, usually by nothing more than Department of Education data. The lending system is done, guys. It's done. It's not coming back. The only question at this point is whether the loans will be canceled years or decades from now, like maybe even because of the death of the borrower, or whether this lending system will enjoy a quick, clean death. We want the quick, clean demise. This lending system needs to be gone, done. It's already a dead man walking, but let's just get it over with, shall we? So yeah, I mean, there's no better policy option truly at this point than for the president to simply suspend the lending program, return bankruptcy by executive order to all federal loans, browbeat Congress to return bankruptcy protections to all student loans, and start over. That's a true, fresh start. And by the way, all the loans can be canceled, and the taxpayers are probably about breaking even. They may be losing a little bit, but they have made a ton of profits on this lending scam over the years, and the taxpayers will be absolutely fine. Trust me. And if they're short a little bit, like of that $1.6 trillion out there, the government has gotten back. Most of that is just interest and nonsense. Nobody actually knows how much of that is actual unpaid principal. It's not clear how much has already been repaid over the years, but it's been a truckload. So the loans could be canceled tomorrow without needing one dime of money from the Treasury, without adding even one penny to the national debt. And on balance, the taxpayers may be even in the black. They probably aren't. They're probably going to be short a little bit. Like, my best guess is something like $200 or $300 billion is what the government would be short. But, that's a pretty small price to pay for having an educated citizenry, in my view. And, really, if the taxpayers absolutely have to have that money back, they can get it from the colleges. The colleges have more cash flooding out of their gills right now than they ever have in the history of colleges in these United States. Hey, we have some questions here. Hey, Victoria, how are you? Victoria says, question, could you explain subsidized and unsubsidized loans? I'm getting questions around it, and I'm no way an expert. So I would love to hear more about the differences. I don't know when have interest one. Yeah, it's very simple, Victoria. Subsidized loans, when you are in school, and when you are on a deferment, subsidized loans, the federal government pays your interest for you. If you have an unsubsidized loan, then while you're in school, and when and if you are on deferment, the loans continue to accrue interest, and you are on the hook for that. So that's what that is. Hey, Aaron's with us tonight. Hey, Aaron. Hey, Doug's with us tonight. Doug says, got a letter from Fed Lending Services today. They say they are transferring my loans again for possible public service loan forgiveness from Great Lakes to Mohila. This is bullshit and will not fall for it again. Yeah, Doug, it's the Wild West out there, ladies and gentlemen. The lending system is collapsing in slow motion, but it's collapsing. Like Navient, Fed Loan Servicing, they have announced they're pulling out of the program. Fed Loan Servicing certainly is pulling out of the program. Navient, it's kind of an open question what they're doing right now, but all the big guys are pulling out. The lending system is evaporating into a mist of illegitimacy, guys. We are in the twilight zone, and also the true twilight of the federal lending program. So you're probably going to see, many people will, I'm sure, see their loans get transferred around, shipped here and there. It's one big cluster F. It's essentially rearranging deck chairs on a sinking ship is what we are the fortunate or unfortunate witnesses of, guys. Nobody knows what's going on. Everybody in Washington, D.C., they have no clue. They don't know what they're going to do. They have no idea. They want to do nothing, but they know that finally this can no longer be kicked down the road. And that upsets them because for years and years, they were able to do nothing. and the more bureaucratic bungling they did, the more money they made. That's the nice thing about sitting on a loan portfolio where there are no bankruptcy protections, are no statutes of limitations, are no fair debt collection practices, etc. The money just roars through the door, and that's a good problem to have. The less you do, the better. But they no longer have that luxury of time on their side because the loan program is failed. Like, notice how they keep extending the repayment pause? It's because they know what's going to happen when they try and turn that sucker back on. It's going to be like that. Nobody's going to pay, guys. Nobody's going to pay. People are done. I've been truly living and breathing this issue for 17 years now. And I have a pretty good sort of innate sense for what's going on out there in the world. And I can tell you, most people are done. If they were to try and flip the switch and turn the lending program back on tomorrow, my best guess is that maybe 25, maybe as many as 30% of the borrowers would resume paying on their loans. But within about 2, 3, 4, 5 months, that 30 would go way down because people would go, oh, yeah, no, now I remember again why these fucking loans are ridiculous and I'm not doing it. They're going to be like, oh, yeah, now I'm paying $600 a month again No, fuck you. I'm not doing it. And that's what's going to happen, guys. The lending system has lost its legitimacy. And the longer they wait, the less legitimate it is, by the way. So, but as I said, guys, this could have a good ending. This could have a very bad ending. The good ending is the people in Washington, D.C. acknowledge this failed lending disaster for what it is, take it to the bath and drown it in the tub. President Biden does something very much like what I suggested, what we are suggesting. Suspend the lending program, no more new loans. Put the colleges on, I'd say, reduce direct funding for a year or two, and reinvent higher education funding in this country. Hopefully not with loans, but whatever. We're agnostic. That's the next problem. They need to capitulate. Lending systems fail from time to time, sometimes spectacularly. And that's what we're seeing here. You know, subprime home mortgages were essentially a failed lending system. But, you know, those had bankruptcy protections. So this is a brand new deal here. This lending, the student loan system has failed far worse than the subprime thing. This lending system has failed far worse than the S&L loans of the mid 80s. But guys, it happens. And frankly, it's not that big of a deal if you take a couple steps back and look at the big picture. Lending systems fail from time to time, and that has always been true throughout human history. Like the first Caesar, Augustus, I believe he rose to power by massive land reforms where these peasant farmers were essentially being sharecropped out, and it wasn't working. So, and I'm not an expert on that, but I can tell you that it was ridiculous debt that brought Caesar Augustus to power and massive land reforms in, I guess, Rome, ancient Greece, whatever you want to call it. Like I said, I'm not an expert, but it does happen. Lending systems fail from time to time, and this is no different. Look at all of Europe post World War II, even post World War I. So in the grand scheme of things, it's not that big of a deal. And you know, the other good piece of good news is this federal lending program is essentially stovepiped off from the rest of the economy. The economy is only going to do better when these loans are finally killed and written off, and the debt is cleared. That will be a massive help, a massive boost for the economy. And don't believe any of the nonsense about inflation. That's a bunch of bullshit. That's just fake. That's our opponents. Like right now in the current inflation that we're seeing, if they were to cancel all loans tomorrow, it would wind up with roughly $400 a month put into the pockets of the average federal student loan borrower. So that sounds like it might cause inflation, right? Yeah, but here's the thing. The inflation that we're seeing right now costs the average household about $500 a month. So canceling student loans is only going to help student loan borrowers be able to pay these massively increased prices. So the effect on inflation will be negligible, if not nothing. So that's just stupid. But yeah, guys, so unfortunately, nothing great, nothing groundbreaking to report about the thing with James McFall today. The most important thing I'm going to say tonight, I'm going to keep it short tonight. We need your help. We need your help. This is a truly grassroots group. We don't have $1 million in funding. We don't have a staff. We don't have, a lobbying team that I can boss around in order to tell what to do. All we have is people, normal people like you and me. And by the way, this group right here, it doesn't look like it, I know, but this group is way more important than you might think. You know, we would not have a bankruptcy bill to fight for, but for the people on this group. I don't think we'd be talking about student loan cancellation by executive order, but for the people on this group and our petition. So we're kind of the thought leaders here, guys. We're the pioneers, and you can't unhear that. Now, to our credit, we've got over 1 million members now. I mean, gosh, that's pretty good, right? 1.34 million people across all of our different platforms. But that is meaningless unless everyone in our group helps. You have no idea how big of a muscle that we have. But on any given day, I'm going to say probably less than 3,000 people are actually doing anything. So we need your help. Don't think that you can sit and wait and watch and worry and cheerlead and eat popcorn, and this problem's going to get solved and your loans are going to go away and you can sit there and do nothing. You can't. It's never operated that way. Our opposition, there's few of them, but they are fierce and they're well connected. And if you haven't noticed, if you haven't read the paper lately, they're fighting very hard against us. And we cannot let them baffle and bamboozle the American public with their bullshit. We've got to stand up. We've got to fight for ourselves. Because believe me, the bad guys want the bad ending, guys. The bad guys absolutely want this lending system to croak along, to zombie along and keep us down for the rest of our lives. That's what they want. And yeah, the loans will be canceled, but it will only be because of your death in many years. We don't want that bad outcome, guys, believe me. So we've got to fight. And what you do right now matters. You know, you're not better than us, by the way. We've got some very blindingly intelligent people on this group. We have people from Harvard. We have Harvard law grads on our group. We've got salt of the earth from the top to the bottom. We are a very accurate representation of America. And by the way, my best estimate is that more than half of us are either Republican or independent. So this is not a partisan left group, so you know. This is not a partisan left problem. It is not, despite what you may see in the food fights going on in the mainstream corporate bullshit media right now. This is an American problem. So whatever your political stripes are, no matter what your own sense of self-worth may be, you're not better than us, and you need to be helping us fight. And that is the only way that we're going to solve this problem. So to that end, the number one action item I have for everybody is to go to our website and do our daily actions. You need a Twitter account. You hate Twitter? I hate Twitter. Get a Twitter account. It helps. You know, we've gotten a number of good news stories published in the media, good research exposed in the media through Twitter. I kid you not. I hate Twitter. Twitter works. Get a Twitter account. Go to our website, do our daily actions. And if you've never done any of our daily actions before, do at least a week or a month's worth. Our daily actions are quick. Like I said, it's Twitter stuff. It's like retweet this, and this. That's usually what a daily action is. It takes you all of a minute to do. So you have no excuse. And by the way, I just want to give a shout out to many people on this group, but tonight I want to give a shout out to Martha Monroe in Dover, New Jersey. Martha is 65 years old. She's got ALS, which I believe is Lou Gehrig's disease. She needs a wheelchair. She cannot talk. And yet, even still, Martha finds a few minutes out of her every day to help us with this fight. It's amazing. You know, I don't know if you know much about ALS, but it's a pretty nasty disease. Think Stephen Hawking, etc. It's a very debilitating disease. And so I salute people like Martha who, despite massive challenges, finds a way to fight this fight. This is a good fight to be fighting, guys. And if Martha can do it, I think you can do it. So no excuses. Nobody's going to pull your weight for you. Don't think you can hide in a crowd. Help us fight. It's that simple. And if you're not going to and you have no intentions of, then leave. We don't want you here. Sorry for the tough love, guys, but that's, you know, this is not a wait and watch and worry. This group is not entertainment. This is a working, fighting group. And if you didn't come here to fight, then we don't really want you here because you're not doing anything good for us. And you're not doing anything good for yourself either. So, and by the way, I think Martha will tell you, many people, everybody I see here tonight, Doug and Aaron and Victoria and everybody else, they will probably tell you it feels good to be fighting this fight. We've got the founders on our side. We've got logic, rationality, reason, and the Constitution, by the way, on our side. We're fighting, yeah, for ourselves, but we're also fighting for 45 million other people in the country who, if they knew about us, probably would be inclined to be joining us. But they will never know about us unless you tell them. So if you know 5 people with student loans, 4 of them, whether they told you or not, are screwed on their student loans. And we're screwed on their student loans even before the pandemic. So if you tell 5 people you know about this group, 4 of them should be really inclined to join us, and probably a couple of them will. And that is how we're going to grow. So do that. And it's not just the 45 million people we're fighting for. We're fighting for tens or hundreds of millions of people who are going to follow in our footsteps and don't deserve to be conquered and enslaved, in the words of John Adams, by debt, particularly to the federal government. The founding fathers are probably looking down on us right now and saying, how did our people get so weak? How did our people allow themselves to be wrecked by this nonsensical federal government lending trap? If the founding fathers could come down, they would probably come down and stick a pitchfork and a torch in our hands, say, what are you doing? Go to Washington, get this one done. That's what they would do. So just think about that, if you would. And Doug says, Martha, we love you. Yes, we love you, Martha. And everybody out there, we've all got challenges. I understand that. But everybody out there should be fighting. And everybody I know who has been engaged in this fight has been glad that they did. It's cathartic. I sleep like a baby at night fighting this fight. And believe me, guys, if we don't fight it, nobody will. And that is true. That is very true. So just remember, guys, just start here. And if you want to be a very fine, fit, and fearsome student loan justice warrior, go to our Medium site right there, Medium, studentloanjustice.medium.com, and read the first 5, 6, 7 of our articles. Just reading those, you will know, 80% of what I know. It's not that difficult. Once you know those things, you will be able to shut the haters up everywhere. And we have haters, guys. There's a lot of people that are very ignorant, and they go, why should my tax dollars pay for your college? It's all very easily batted away. The tax, as I said earlier in Livestream, taxpayers are going to be fine. This is a big government lending scam that no true conservative could ever defend, should never defend, although some do. There's a massive informational vacuum in the country, guys. And the only way that informational vacuum is going to be solved is by good people like you and me and everybody else on this group telling the truth. It's not hard. And it feels good. It feels good to rip the scales away from ignorant people's eyes and open their eyes. So there's a lot of work to be done, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. And, hopefully we'll continue to get lucky in the media. We cannot trust the media, though, guys. We cannot. Word of mouth is probably the way this thing's really going to get solved. And thankfully, for the first time in 17 years, I can finally say that the grassroots is now truly starting to wake up like I kind of hoped it would about 16 years ago. But it is what it is. Better later than never, I suppose, is my takeaway there. But all right, guys. So that's it in a nutshell. The James Quall thing today wasn't anything to shout about. But I hope you're pleased. I hope you're helping. I hope you will help. And maybe the last thing I should say tonight is, if you can, I put the little donate thing. If you could donate at this time, it'd be very, very helpful, guys. We survive and thrive on very little, like almost no, like personal gifts from normal people. Not a lot of money do we need to survive and fight and win this battle. But we can't do it on nothing. And right now we've got a huge email cost that we need to deal with in the next 3 days. And it's going to be like over $500 that I think we need to raise at this point. So if you can help, please do it. We appreciate it. With that, I'm just going to wish you all a fine Monday evening. Wish you Godspeed with your efforts as you go forward doing our daily actions, which you better effing do. Pardon my French. And God bless everyone. I'll see you on Wednesday. Ed, our fearless co-leader, will be with you tomorrow. So see you Wednesday.